The Spectral City, Episode 1, Coyotes and Wolves, by Arthur Vincie. Exterior, highway, morning. A thin ribbon of bad road cuts through a lush forest. Smoke rises in the distance. The thud of unseen mortars echoes from miles away. Evidence of war pockmarks the landscape. Derelict cars, burnt shanties by the road, telephone and power poles cut or ripped in half. A nondescript grey cargo van barrels down the road. Exterior forest, dawn. A thick cluster of trees ends hard by a bend in the road, the branches making a natural canopy. Two men wearing animal masks stand by the cluster. The van pulls up and stops. The men signal with their arms, and two people walk out from inside the cluster and head for the van. Juliet, 18, slender frame, face etched with sweat and worry, wears old jeans and a man's coat. Her hair looks recently cut, badly. Jim, 19, scraggly beard and weather-lined face offset by a crooked smile, wears faded camouflage and looks pretty badly beaten up. They stop by the van. The driver, also wearing an animal mask, gets out and opens the back door. Juliet and Jim kiss.
I love you, Puddinghead.
Where are you going?
To the city.
It's haunted.
I'll be there. Look me up.
Jim climbs into the van. The men with masks grunt and run away. Juliet turns around to see the cause for alarm and bumps into the White Witch, a tall, porcelain white figure, including her hair and eyes, dressed in dark blue. Her hands are covered in blood. Jim tries to get out of the van, but the witch slams the door shut, grabs Juliet by the throat. Interior, van, dawn, and Juliet wakes up with a shudder. She rubs sleep out of her eyes and looks around. The back of the van is tiny, lit by sunlight coming in through cracks in the side. The van rocks as it hits the potholes, old engines groaning. Three other passengers sit in the cramped space. Ishmael, 30s, hardened, slender, works a set of rosary beads and keeps his eyes to the ground. Shirin, 40s, wears overalls and a headscarf, beauty nestled between lines of worry, sits cross-legged with a piece of cardboard on her lap and sketches on it with a nib of charcoal. Bud, lanky and well past 60, fidgets. He looks at Juliet.
You going to Milltown?
Juliet shrugs.
Yeah, don't matter much, does it?
It's more true than you know,
You from nearby?
in a way.
You headed to Milltown?
No.
Where to?
Ishmael ignores him, turns his head, and closes his eyes.
Where are you going, young lady?
Sharon ignores him and keeps sketching. Bud shrugs.
Exciting trip so far.
He chuckles. The van rocks gently and Juliet settles in, folding her arms, and gradually falls asleep again. Exterior, forest, morning. Title, Juliet's Story, Yesterday. Lush, green, deep shadows broken up by beams of pale, misty light. Birds sing out, and various creatures climb and weave and walk among the leaves and dark roots. Juliet squats against a tree with an old, heavy-looking rifle, keeping so still that she seems like an extension of its twisted trunk. She's dressed in old faded jeans and a beaten-up camel jacket. A knife, canteen, ammo pouches, and other gear hang from an old webbed belt. She brings the rifle to her shoulder and sights down the barrel. Boom! All the creatures stop for a split second, then scamper madly for cover. The birds scream and fly away. Juliet bends down and picks up the shell casing, then slings the rifle across her shoulder. She walks quietly, looking in all directions until she finds a dead deer shot through the chest. She reaches down to feel its mouth. It doesn't move. She reaches for her knife. Exterior, forest, later. Juliet walks through the forest, a rolled-up, blood-stained sack tied across her back. She looks at the ground, stops periodically, and bends down and picks up a stick or a rock. She stops, crawls through some undergrowth, and finds a berry bush. She smiles, unrolls a sack tied to her belt, and pulls on a set of gloves. She works on the branches expertly dropping the berries into the bag without getting pricked by the thorns. Exterior, forest, stream, later. Juliet walks down to a stream and looks at some tracks. She crouches down, puts a stick in what look like hoof prints. The forest behind her moves just a tiny bit. She doesn't seem to notice. A man, hidden from view by some old camo, sneaks up behind her. He's lanky and mean-looking, face partly hidden by the shadows. It looks as if he's going to strike, until she whirls around to face him, rifle at the ready. Jim pulls off his hat and smiles.
Never gonna catch you, am I?
You taught me all your tricks?
Now how do you know that? Maybe I got one up my sleeve.
Jim takes an ancient tarot card from his pocket, passes it to his empty hand, waves his arm, and the card disappears. Juliet smiles, reaches into the sleeve of the hand that pulled the card, and pulls it out. They giggle.
So you going to help me skin this thing or what?
Leave the skin on, girl. It'll keep the flavor.
I can sell the pelts, stupid.
That little fawn won't fetch anything.
The hell it won't. Come on, let's eat. Still hours before we get home.
Exterior, forest stream, later. Berries and oats simmer in a small pot sitting over an open fire. Jim and Juliet lean against a tree trunk, passing a spoon back and forth to each other. As they talk, berry juice drips all over their faces.
Where did you get these?
Back about 2 miles. I marked the spot. Left enough for them to grow back. Wish I could plant them, but the seed don't take to my yard.
They don't make it outside here, do they?
Juliet shakes her head.
Did you see it past the dip there about 5 miles back?
Not today.
Well, soldiers burn it all out. Can't tell if it was a firebomb or defoliant or what.
I've been seeing tracks everywhere. Horses mostly.
Then the rebels really are done for, aren't they?
A horse makes more sense up here than a car.
Government will just burn the forest down.
Screw all them. Can't wait until the wet season anyway. At least in the swampland there's work. There's nothing here.
Dream on. It's not like we can slip in and out like we used to.
Or we could climb up higher.
I'd rather face the army than the witch.
Juliet rolls her eyes.
You ever see her?
Late at night, once. I saw something anyway. It was walking through the forest, but not like we do. Like the ground was perfectly flat underneath it, shaped like a woman in a robe.
Could have been a bird.
You know a bird that big runs through here?
Hell, I've seen 20 things this week I don't remember seeing before. Government soldiers are driving everything up here.
This was a year ago.
What did you do? Ask her out?
Yeah, that would have been a great idea. She'd have eaten me and played music with my bones.
Juliet laughs. A distant thud. Jim's smile disappears. Jim stamps the fire out with his feet, finds a stone and pushes it over the embers. Juliet crawls over to the next tree trunk, unslings her rifle. Jim crawls over next to her. Another thud. He looks up. The birds change their song and fly away. The thudding gets louder, followed by the sounds of branches breaking and metal jingling. 2 rebels run through the forest, their uniforms in tatters. Dirt is caked on their faces. They carry assault rifles. One of the rebels falls, curses, gets up. Several shots ring out and he falls down dead. The other one grabs his leg and limps over to a tree. Another shot hits him in the chest and he drops. Juliet and Jim get down on the ground. Juliet points to the stream. Jim nods, pours the still hot stew into a canteen, puts the pot into his sack. Juliet slides across the ground, grabs some leaves, and lays them over their tracks. They hug the embankment and freeze. Theo, lean, covered in camo and face paint, creeps through the forest a few feet away. He's the lion in this jungle. He walks over to the bodies, bends down, and picks through their pockets. He takes out a Bowie knife and pulls their heads forward. Juliet and Jim pull on their packs as quietly as possible, walk along the stream bed, picking their way past the rocks. Jim stumbles and splashes into the stream, and Theo looks up from his bloody work, takes the ear he has just lopped off, and runs over to the stream bank. Fast as magic, he puts away his knife and brings up his rifle. Jim and Juliet huddle against the bank, just out of sight. Theo sniffs the air. Juliet holds her breath. No one moves. Jim holds the tarot card to his head. Theo's old model walkie-talkie breaks the silence.
Theo, sit rep.
Theo turns the volume down and picks up the receiver.
They're down, sir.
Anything on them?
Nothing worth the hike, sir.
Then get your ass down here. We're setting up shop just off the road.
Sir, there's a...
What?
Theo sniffs the air again.
Nothing.
Out.
Theo walks back in the direction he came from. Juliet and Jim look around.
He could smell the kill.
You better ditch it then.
I want to eat next week. Let's get gone before the rebels come for the dead.
Or the witch.
There's no witch. You saw a bag blowing in the wind is all.
I know what I saw.
Juliet ignores him and picks her way down the stream bed. Jim follows.
Did you save any of the stew?
I'm not gonna let those berries go to waste, girl.
Juliet looks at the dead bodies and shakes her head.
What is it?
Nothing. Means nothing.
Come on.
They pick up speed. Exterior, edge of forest, day. The forest ends abruptly just before a steep incline. A small house sits at the base of the incline, built by hand and added to over generations. A muddy road leads from the house to a strip of highway. Juliet and Jim walk to the edge and peer out at the valley below them. Thick smoke columns rise lazily in the distance. A beaten-up jeep sits by the house. Soldiers mill about the jeep.
No shit, you're back again.
Steven?
Maybe. Can't tell from here.
I better get back to my house.
Thanks for the support.
You know what they'd do to both of us if they caught me.
At least give me my stew.
No, you know that's not fair. They're my oats in there.
Oh, fine then. Go.
Juliet creeps along the tree line, keeping the house between her and the soldiers. Exterior, Juliet's house, day. Juliet gets to the back porch of the house just as one of the soldiers hits the horn on the jeep. She starts, peeks around the corner at exterior, Juliet's house, front, day. 3 dirty government soldiers. Mark, 20s, uniform disheveled, drinks from a bottle. Janus, older, wary, scans the tree line, rifle ready. Arun, behind the wheel, his leg bandaged, hits this horn again.
Come on!
Keep it up, moron. Why don't you put a big target on the jeep?
Yeah, Theo shot the last of them. There's no one but us for miles.
And that bitch.
Whose food you're happy to keep eating?
Who cares?
Exterior, Juliet's house, back porch, day. Juliet slides away from the corner, opens up an old-fashioned icebox, and puts the deer inside. She unties it when
There you are. Didn't you hear us?
Juliet freezes up, closes the icebox shut, and turns to face Stephen. His outfit's a little cleaner, his form a little leaner than the others. He's got a swagger and stripes.
I was just
What? Hunting?
seeing what's in here for you to eat.
Why the rifle then, sweetmeat?
Just
What? What'd you say?
Juliet shuts her mouth.
hunting.
Hunting.
Stephen menaces Juliet. There's no telling what he'll do. The horn breaks the silence. Stephen walks past Juliet, passing a little too close, and leans around the side of the house.
Shut up with that already!
Exterior, Juliet's house, front, day. The soldiers stop goofing around. Exterior, Juliet's house, back porch, day. Juliet holds her breath. Stephen walks back over to her and taps the icebox with the butt of his knife.
Hunting what?
I had bad luck. Didn't catch nothing. I laid the traps and waited all morning.
So what you got in there then?
He taps the box again.
Some potatoes and bird. I got some berries.
Juliet holds out the sack of berries. Stephen snatches them out of her hand, reaches in and grabs a handful. For a brief second his facade breaks as he stares at the beautiful bright fruit, and then the hardness sets in again.
You trying to poison me?
No, I had some when I picked them.
Have some now.
Juliet tentatively reaches out, grabs one out of his hand and eats it. She tries to keep her hand from shaking.
Hell, girl, you think I'm gonna hurt my favorite cook? Those morons can't make anything to save their lives. We'll be staying here tonight, by the way.
Stephen takes the sack of berries, puts it in his bag, and walks around the side of the house. Juliet breathes out, opens the icebox, reaches in, and pulls out some containers of food. Interior, Juliet's house, night. A single large room, sparsely furnished with a staircase. The soldiers sit at a table while Juliet serves food. The table is already piled up with dirty dishes and empties. Mark is half asleep. Arun and Janus play cards while Arun scratches his wound. Stephen looks over an ancient laptop. He looks the least buzzed of the bunch.
Anything new, sir?
Are you kidding? There is never anything new.
He holds up his glass. Juliet fills it with what's left of a bottle of vodka.
Did they find out where the mortars came from, sir?
I don't know.
Theo walks in. He carries a plastic bag in one hand, his rifle in the other.
I told you to be back hours ago.
I picked up 2 trails, sir.
Theo pulls up the last chair and sits down next to Stephen. Juliet sees him and freezes for a second, then hands him a plate of food. He looks right at her.
What did you find?
A camp, sir.
How long ago was this?
An hour. Took me a while to get away without being spotted.
All right, saddle up.
Everyone snaps out of their stupor and makes a half-assed attempt at picking up their gear and guns. Juliet clears the dishes out of their way.
What about the other trail?
It went somewhere close to here, but they covered it pretty well.
Juliet reaches into one of the kitchen cabinets. Hidden inside is an old .38 pistol. She palms it into her dish rag and then puts some plates away. Stephen looks at her from behind, unaware of what she's doing.
Mark, Janus, you postcard here.
Why?
In case they come back.
Theo wolfs down his food and then gets up to go.
Nice bird. Too bad there's no venison.
Theo, Stephen, and Arun walk out. The jeep fires up and drives away. Mark lies down on the nearest couch and nods off.
You're on first watch.
The fuck I am.
Janus pulls Mark off the couch and lies down. Juliet picks up a pail and walks over to the back door.
Where are you going?
I have to get some water from the well and check the traps.
I'll come with you.
Mark bumbles over, trying to act slick.
There's another bottle on the table.
Mark looks at the bottle, reaches for it, scrapes the chair over to the front window, turns off the light, and turns on his infrared helmet. He starts snoring right away. Juliet walks out the back door. Exterior, Juliet's house, back porch, night. Juliet cracks open the .38. There are only 4 bullets loaded. She puts the pail down, walks over to the icebox, pulls out the deer, and heads for a shed out back. Interior, shed, night. Juliet opens the shed. The inside wall is lined with pegs, clotheslines, and butcher knives. She sets the deer on a hook, takes a knife from the wall, puts on an apron, and starts skinning the deer. She keeps her eyes on the tiny window as she works. She slips and nicks herself, and then goes back to work. Interior, Juliet's house, night. Mark and Janus snore. Juliet walks inside carrying a pail full of water in a freshly bandaged hand. She sets the pail down quietly. Lights shine in the window. Mark stirs and sights down the barrel of his gun. The jeep pulls up outside.
Get up.
Mark pokes Janus. Janus gets up groggily.
Get up.
Theo, Stephen, and Arun walk in. Stephen carries Jim in twist ties. Jim looks as if he's been punched more than a few times.
Don't get up on our account, ladies.
Juliet sees Jim and gasps. Jim shakes his head, no. Theo grabs a chair and Stephen shoves Jim into it.
Tracked him back to his house.
I'll call it in.
And let the lieutenant get the score and take the credit? No thanks.
Theo sits at the table, eyeing everything coolly. Juliet pretends to be busy with the dishes while Janus, Mark, and Stephen argue.
You know him?
Juliet looks at Jim. She puts on her best blank face.
Can't say I do.
You play poker or dice?
I'm not much for gambling.
Too bad. This poor bastard rolled 7s. Got any deer left?
What, dear?
Yeah, right.
I can fix you up something.
Theo gets up and walks towards her.
Your boy there bleeds all over your nice floor, and you're asking me about food?
Theo has her just about backed into the corner.
Not the first time you boys have brought someone here, you know.
Hey, Theo, I need your skills here.
Theo breaks off his tractor beam on Juliet and refocuses on Jim. Mark, Arun, and Janus sit back on the couch and put money on the table in piles. Stephen and Theo stand over Jim.
This next part is up to you. You can cooperate with me and tell me where you put the mortars, or I can let Theo here loose on you.
Theo takes out his knife. Tears well up in Jim's eyes.
A lot of men think they can take it until they feel that first sting. Then they crap themselves and moan and whine, and hell, that's worse than the pain, isn't it? So just spare yourself all that and tell us what you're going to say anyway.
I got nothing for you.
Theo takes the handle of his knife and brings it down on Jim's hand. He screams. Juliet feels around her waistband for the .38.
We've got other parts we can work on.
But I I don't.
Theo stabs him in the foot and then punches him in the arm. Jim screams again.
I haven't even been active.
Jim bites back.
Active? Active where?
Theo laughs.
Oh, we don't have a rebel. We got a deserter.
Ah, fuck, who cares about that?
He could have switched sides.
A lot of guys did.
If I want your opinion, I'll ask for it.
We don't care what you did. We want to know where the mortars are. Now tell us, we can all go to sleep.
Jim's eyes go to Juliet for a brief second, but Theo catches it. Theo grabs Juliet and drags her over.
No!
What are you doing?
They were in the goddamn woods today. I know it.
She was here with us.
Wait! I'll tell you everything.
You're right, you will.
Theo relaxes his grip on her and turns the knife back to Jim. What happens next is so fast. Jim lunges forward at Theo, impaling himself on the knife. Juliet pulls out her .38 and puts a bullet into the back of Theo's head. The front of Theo's head erupts, spewing blood onto everyone. Stephen turns and Juliet shoots him a couple of times in the chest, then nicks Arun with the last shot. Stephen pulls his gun up but collapses into Mark. Arun and Janus fumble with their rifles. Arun puts weight on his bad leg and falls. Juliet runs out the back, barely missing a barrage as Janus finally opens fire. The door is punctured with holes. Exterior, Juliet's back porch, night. Juliet ducks behind the freezer, finds her rifle, and chambers around as the barrage stops.
Reload! Cover!
She's out!
The sound of running towards the door. Juliet trains her rifle on the middle of the door and sees the light from the bullet holes blocked,
Wait, moron!
and fires. A grunt and a thud as somebody hits the floor. Silence. Juliet chambers another round. She slides off the porch and underneath it. Exterior, Juliet's house, crawl space, night. Juliet hears a creaking from the floor above, someone sneaking onto the porch from the side. She fires on the creaking, and then click, she's out. Screams, fire going wild. Juliet looks around for more ammo. Sounds of someone moving in the house. She creeps out from under the crawl space. Exterior, Juliet's house, back porch, night. Mark mules and crawls around on the porch. He's bleeding badly and dragging his gun. No sign of Janus. Juliet makes a mad dash for Mark's gun. Mark turns and tries to grab it, but Juliet knocks his hand away and grabs the gun, but the strap is still around Mark's shoulder. They fall off the porch together. Gunfire shatters the windows. Janus runs out the back door, firing wildly. Juliet fires Mark's gun, but the recoil knocks her back down. A lucky shot hits Janus. He runs back into the house to reload. Juliet runs inside. Interior, Juliet's house, night. Janus, bleeding, goes to pick up Stephen's handgun, but Juliet whacks him hard with her empty rifle, then brings the butt down over and over. Silence. Juliet checks Jim. He's dead. She runs to the sink and gags, but nothing comes up. She closes her eyes, inhales deeply, and goes on autopilot. Exterior, Juliet's house, roadside, night. Juliet runs down the road as fast as she can, carrying a sack and a duffel bag. Exterior, Amber house, night. A small house set against the woods, fenced off from the road. Juliet guides herself along the fence post, out of breath. She takes out a pocket flashlight, then turns it on and waves it around. She runs up to the door. Josh Amber, 40s but looking older, opens the door, shotgun ready.
Don't shoot.
Interior, Amber house, night. It's seen better days, dishes in the sink, furniture, and not much in the way of creature comforts. Josh lights a gas lamp and sets it down on the table. He gives Juliet a bottle of whiskey. Juliet drinks it down.
Careful with that. I don't have much left.
Juliet coughs.
Sorry. Lights are out again?
Your rebels cut the power lines. Or the government, hard to tell. Ran out of gas for the Jenny last week. I'd siphon off the Jeep, but I need it for trips into town.
Jim's dead.
A beat. Josh takes the bottle from Juliet and drinks a swig.
The army caught up with him?
Yes. It's my fault. We were hunting and, oh fuck, they're all dead.
Who's all dead?
I killed the men that killed Jim.
Rebels or government?
Government.
Josh gets up, grabs Juliet by the arm and leads her to the door.
Then you're getting the hell away from me as fast as you can. You know what they're gonna do to this town? To everyone on this side of the mountain?
I'm leaving. Just set me up with the coyotes.
Goddamn with that. Whatever you can offer, they can make twice as much turning your ass in.
Josh shoves Juliet out the door.
Josh, I saved your life last winter.
And you're gonna save it again.
I'll make it worth your while.
Juliet opens one of the sacks, pulls out a cut of deer meat wrapped in wax paper. Josh stops and considers.
How much you got?
Enough for you for a while.
What else?
Juliet opens up another sack, revealing a jumbled pile of soldiers' weapons and gear.
I know you can sell these to the rebels the next time they come around. And there's a jeep by the house.
I don't deal with jeeps.
Jim told me you do.
That boy doesn't know when to shut up. He didn't know. Didn't.
Josh takes the sack, and Juliet walks back inside. Interior, Josh's house, dawn. Juliet drinks coffee, looking bleary-eyed, while Josh cuts her hair.
The coyotes I can trust.
Right.
They want the repeat business, but not their bosses. They figure out who you are or that you're a young girl, they'll sell you to slavers or the government.
I can't hide that I'm a girl. My voice is too high.
Just dress bigger and don't talk. You don't tell anyone where you're from or where you're going. Anyone asks, just grunt.
Juliet nods. She holds up a mirror to see just how bad a job Josh did. She pulls a hat on. It's a little better.
They need cash.
Juliet pulls a small cloth wrapping out of her sock and opens it. Inside are a couple of rings and some old cash.
Shit, that's it?
Juliet nods. Josh takes it, puts it in a brown paper bag.
It'll do.
Josh gets up and looks through the piles of junk.
I remember when we built this place.
You were tiny. Your dad and mom, well,
How come you never put it back together after the bandits got through?
I didn't want to make an easy target. Your house is too nice. That's why the soldiers started coming round.
They said it was my cooking.
Juliet starts to tear up a little.
All I can think about is them berries. How when we cooked them up, it was going to be a good day.
The witch's way.
There ain't a witch up there.
Now they say she's in the city. Just stay the hell away from there.
Why?
I heard stories.
A van drives past outside. They both duck.
That them?
Josh pokes his head up and nods.
I always make a point of driving by here before the pickup. All right, come on.
Josh picks up Juliet's other sack and they walk out. Exterior, road, dawn. A nondescript stretch of road. Two coyotes, Joseph and Sahid, carrying shotguns and wearing coats and greasy jeans, stand by a tree smoking. They're in their 20s but look much older. Joseph looks through a pair of binoculars. He motions to Sahid. They duck behind the tree as an army jeep passes by with two soldiers in it. The jeep rounds the bend. A walkie-talkie crackles.
Patrol just passed. You got about 8 minutes till they circle back.
Got it.
A beat-up cargo van rounds the corner, headlights off, and pulls over. Matthew, 20s, mean-looking, gets out. Sahid walks into the forest and returns a second later with Bud and Juliet. Josh walks behind them. Matthew opens the back of the van, unlocks and lifts out a false back, revealing a narrow sitting area. Ishmael and Shireen are already huddled inside in the shadows. There are no windows. Bud gives Joseph money and then climbs in.
You die on the trip, I don't give a rat's fuck. Just so you know. You get dropped off wherever I can stop.
Bud nods and gets in. Juliet gives Joseph one of the sacks. Joseph looks at it and nods.
What you brought us this time, Josh? More trouble, big man? My cousin. There's no work here. No shit. Well, good luck finding anywhere we're going.
Juliet nods. Josh takes her aside.
Here's the cross your mother gave me to give you.
Josh hands a cloth-wrapped parcel to Juliet.
Open it when you're somewhere by yourself.
Josh puts his hands to his lips. They hug briefly.
Don't go all the other way on me now, Josh. I was just starting to like your business. He's my family. What did you say?
Matthew punches Josh in the gut. Juliet gets ready to hit him, but Josh waves his arm.
The patrol's coming back.
Let's go. Go. Play somewhere else.
Sahid picks Josh up and walks him back to the woods. Matthew turns to Juliet.
You got something to say, little man?
Juliet shakes her head.
Then fucking get inside.
Juliet gets in. Matthew closes and locks the false back, then shuts the doors. Joseph and Matthew hop in the front. Sahid walks back into the woods. Interior, van, dawn. The van rocks as it picks up speed, its old engines groaning. Juliet sways uncertainly, finds a spot and sits down. Interior, van, later, and wakes up with a shudder. Bud looks at her and then looks down at the floor. Ishmael puts his beads away and stares out a crack in the window. The forest flashes by, breaking up the sunlight in a Morse code beat of light, dark, light, dark. The trees blend together. Exterior, city park, day. Title, Ishmael's story, weeks ago. The trees are tamer and more sparse, and beyond them rise skyscrapers and giant commercial buildings. Children play, adults eat lunch, and everything looks as far removed from war as possible. Ishmael walks through the park with Marcus, his son, 8. Marcus runs ahead of Ishmael.
Marcus, don't go too far.
Hurry up, Dad.
Finally, they reach the playground. A group of kids run around playing a game of tag. A few of them wave at Marcus. Some of the parents turn around and smile. Marcus breaks into an all-out run and joins the swarm. Ishmael hangs back at the edge of the action, standing next to the other parents. Ananya, 30s, sips coffee from a metal cup and leans over.
I think they're leading us instead of us leading them.
Oh, he's been in charge since the first day.
They chuckle. Ishmael takes in the hectic scene, then frowns. Their giggles and screams turn more frantic and desperate. He puts his hand to his chest, breathing hard. Interior, Ishmael's apartment, bedroom, night. Children's drawings adorn the walls. Bright clothes and bead jewelry sit on metal shelves. Ishmael wakes up, breathing hard. He looks down at the end of the bed and sees a severed arm. Interior, Ishmael's apartment, bedroom, night. Ishmael wakes up sweating. He looks at the edge of the bed. There's no arm. A creaking comes from the hallway. He gets up, on full alert. He sidles up to the door and opens it. Interior, Ishmael's apartment, kitchen, night. A typically too small city kitchen. Ishmael walks over to a drawer and takes out a kitchen knife. He hunches down, ready to strike, and Marcus walks into the kitchen, bleary-eyed, and turns on the light. Marcus sees the knife and starts crying and runs out of the kitchen. Ishmael puts the knife down and chases after him. Interior, Ishmael's apartment, living room, night. Marcus runs for the couch. Ishmael walks over, but Marcus jumps over the couch and climbs onto the ledge of the open window. Ishmael stops.
I'm sorry, sweet pea. Don't go out there.
No! Get away from me!
Dad, I had a bad dream. It was just a bad dream.
No!
Come here, I won't hurt you.
Get away!
Marcus works the window open. Ishmael inches forward, but that makes Marcus work harder.
Marcus, listen to me very carefully. You don't want to go out there. It's a 5-story drop.
I can make it.
If you get hurt, your mom will be very upset.
I'm going to make it.
Ishmael runs over and pulls Marcus away with one hand and slams the window shut with the other. Marcus tries to kitch and punch him, but can't get any leverage. He bites him. Ishmael grits his teeth and bears it, and drags Marcus over to his bedroom. Interior, Ishmael's apartment, Marcus's bedroom, night. Full of toys, drawings, and projects. Ishmael carries Marcus to bed, but it's like holding onto a bag of worms. Finally, he puts Marcus on the bed, shuts the door, and stands guard by it. Marcus immediately climbs out of bed and squirms into a corner.
Marcus, I'm not going to do anything. I didn't mean to scare you.
Marcus whimpers quietly.
I had a dream about when I was your age. I was on the other side of the world.
He looks for some sign from Marcus. Nothing.
What woke you up?
Nothing.
Do you have to go to the bathroom?
Marcus nods.
Okay.
Ishmael opens the door, and Marcus shoots out of the corner like an arrow and runs down the hall. Interior, Ishmael's apartment, living room, night. Ishmael hears the toilet flushing off screen and settles onto the couch.
Wash your hands.
A beat. Water splashing off screen.
Turn out the light.
Click. Marcus comes out, looking a little more relieved, but still scared as hell.
I'm going to stay right here, okay? I'm not going into your room, and you're not going to climb out the window. Deal?
Marcus nods. He sits down in a chair opposite Ishmael. The two square off.
Can I tell you a story?
Exterior, forest, story, day. Juliet and Jim walk through the forest hand in hand. Ishmael stands nearby, narrating.
Once upon a time, there was a girl and a boy, and they were in love.
The white witch creeps behind them.
They went for a walk in the woods, but they didn't realize that a witch also lived in the woods. It was her private land, and they were trespassers.
A tree branch falls next to Juliet.
The witch tried to warn them, but they didn't realize it was her.
The two now dead gorillas walk out of the forest with a young Ishmael looking like Marcus walking behind them. Young Ishmael carries a machete and drags a bag along the ground. Ishmael looks at his younger self in horror.
There were scary things in the forest. The witch sent them after the boy and the girl.
Juliet and Jim hide from the gorillas. The witch, behind them, bangs two rocks together and then vanishes. The gorillas turn at the sound and see them. Juliet and Jim turn and run straight into Theo and Stephen.
There were wolves in the forest. The witch sent them after them too.
Theo smiles and pulls his knife out. Juliet and Jim are caught between the two sides.
And then?
Young Ishmael turns on adult Ishmael and throws the sack at him. It falls at his feet and opens. Interior, Ishmael's apartment, living room, morning. Ishmael opens his eyes. He's still on the couch. Marcus is curled into a ball on the chair. Interior, Ishmael's apartment, kitchen, morning. Marcus looks on bleary-eyed as Ishmael whirls around the kitchen cooking eggs, pouring juice, and packing a school lunch.
Do you have your bag ready?
Yes?
How do you want your eggs today?
Runny.
Ishmael flips them once, plates them, and puts them in front of Marcus. Marcus flinches a bit. Ishmael sighs. The front door opens. Marcus runs out of the room after the sound. Ishmael pours a cup of coffee and closes his eyes.
Hi, Sweet Pea. It's good to see you too.
Nuriyah, 30s, walks in, still wearing her nurse's outfit. She looks pretty even though she's tired. Marcus stands behind her, clinging to her. Ishmael tries to smile as he gives her a cup of coffee.
What's wrong with you two?
Exterior, park, day. Ishmael sits on a bench looking at the kids playing on the playground. A gift and flowers sit next to him. Nuriyah walks down the path, Marcus in tow. Even dressed in jeans and a simple blouse, she turns heads. Ananya and her son Jamie, Marcus's age, walk closely behind them. Ishmael gets up off the bench, flowers and gift to the ready. Nuriyah stops and stands a few feet away. Marcus looks at Ishmael, still a little scared.
Go and play. Daddy and I have to talk for a minute.
Marcus and Jamie run into Kidstorm. Ananya walks inside. Nuriyah turns to Ishmael.
Do you think that makes everything all right?
No.
Nuriyah folds her arms.
Please, what would make it all right?
Nuriyah's tough facade cracks a little.
Walk with me. And Anya will watch Marcus.
Exterior, city park, path, day. Nuriyah walks a few feet away from Ishmael. Ishmael still holds the flowers and the present.
Ishmael,
Don't call me that.
it's your name.
And yours is Nuriyah. But we don't call each other that.
You haven't been sleeping for months, Ishmael, and you've been acting strange.
I know.
Then what do you expect me to do?
Just come back to me.
And what will you do the next time? I can't have any more crazy in my life.
I'm not like your first husband.
What do you think Marcus is going through right now?
I don't think about much else.
What started this?
Ishmael goes silent. They're at a crossroads in the path.
I don't know.
Or you're not telling me.
Ishmael shakes his head.
I'm your wife. You don't have to hide from me.
If I knew, I would tell you.
If you want us back, you have to see someone.
I don't want to see a shrink.
Honey, I don't care who you see, just see someone.
Ishmael sighs, seeing that he's been checkmated. Exterior, neighborhood mosque, day. An unassuming building in the middle of a busy neighborhood. Men and women stream out dressed in various degrees of formal wear. Adjai, wearing a fez and a simple suit, smiles and works the crowd. He spots Ishmael staring at him from across the street, and the smile vanishes. Interior, Adjai's office, day. Small and cramped with books. The walls are adorned with community award plaques and photos of various activity groups. A small altar sits in the corner, decorated with a rosary of black beads and an assortment of deities. Adjai walks in, clears some space off a chair, and sits down across the desk. Ishmael walks in.
Shoes, heathen.
Adjai chuckles. Ishmael takes his shoes off but doesn't know where to put them.
Just leave them on the floor.
Ishmael puts them down. Adjai pours tea for them both. Ishmael walks over to the altar.
I'm impressed.
I have to cover it when some of my brothers and sisters come in, but you can see it, can't you? Kurumasaba goes in many guises.
Where are they from, your brothers and sisters?
Everywhere, is she? Can't tell you how many languages I hear. I'm trying to pick up a few. So now I can say, how are you? And I am fine.
As long as you don't forget your roots, right?
Is that an accusation? Because I don't remember the last time you were here.
Ishmael shrugs. He picks up a rosary bead from the altar and runs it through his hands.
Do you ever think about when we were boys? What we did during the war?
That was a shadow of me.
But it doesn't bother you?
Of course. But I can't change the past. I can only do what's right for the present.
But that's just it. We were doing what we thought was right.
We were animals.
What if we could go back and change things?
If we could, you would not become who you are now. You can't change the past and not the present.
What's so terrific about my present? I sell clothing and jewelries. I haven't seen our country in 15 years, and the landlord's raising the rent on the shop again.
You have a family that loves you. You put food on the table for them. This is your country now.
If you feel that way, why isn't there a $1 bill on your shrine?
Adjai gets up, angry.
Ishi, don't blaspheme. You can argue with me all you want, but don't confuse the issues.
I'm nothing but confused.
Adjai softens a little. Ishmael points to the altar.
I have to go back home.
Don't fall for nostalgia, Ishi. It hasn't gotten better. The war's moved south, but it's still there.
I feel like if I don't go back, then I'm going to lose my family. Do you see what I'm saying?
No. If you don't want to lose them, then you should stay here.
They don't want me here.
Nuriyah doesn't want to become a widow.
What about my son?
He needs you here too.
He needs a father, not someone who can't take care of anything.
Ishmael stops and tries to compose himself.
Your Debuls will travel with you. A change of scenery won't matter.
I don't see any other way. Unless I take more pills and see more shrinks.
Not all of that is bad.
It didn't help. You didn't do it. You found God.
I didn't find God. God was there the whole time. I just had to wake up.
I'm always awake. I can't sleep, and I don't see God.
Why did you come here if all you're going to do is vex me?
To say goodbye, I guess.
Ishmael puts the beads back on the altar.
Keep them. You'll need them. If you really think that going back is the answer, at least be prepared.
Adjai puts the rosary around Ishmael's neck.
Can't talk you out of anything, can I?
No. Not since we were boys.
They hug. Interior, van, day. Ishmael sighs and pulls out the beads again. Shirin and Bud have fallen asleep. Juliet quietly unwraps the cloth bundle Josh gave her. Inside is an ugly wooden cross. She balances it in her hand and pulls it on. The long end opens in the middle, revealing a thin, deadly-looking blade. She sheathes the blade and puts it in her pocket hastily. The van stops. Sounds of Joseph and Matthew getting out. The back panel opens. It's bright out. Joseph and Matthew throw a gallon jug of water and a sack of food into the back.
We're about halfway there. Be in Milltown by tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow seems like a long time. We're not driving straight there, dipshit. Unless you want to go wave your arms and hitchhike. I'm sure the government patrol would love to take you somewhere. I didn't. Shut up!
Anyway, you can take a piss break if you want, but we're leaving in 5 minutes, so be quick about it.
Everyone climbs out. Exterior, roadside, day. The van is parked on the side of the road next to a burned-out vehicle and some trees. Joseph points in the direction of the woods.
Men's room's there, women's is over there. You got 5 minutes. I recommend you don't lose sight of each other.
Matthew hands them some water and paper towels.
You smell up the van, I'm gonna kick you to death.
Juliet walks over to the woods. Bud stretches. Shireen and Ishmael walk together. Exterior, forest by road, day. Juliet walks into the woods a bit and looks around. She's alone. Interior, Juliet's house, day. Josh peers into the house from the porch window. He cautiously opens the door, covers his mouth. In the daylight, the carnage is more evident. The blood is dry and the flies gather over the bodies. Josh ignores the soldiers and walks over to Jim's body crumpled up on the floor. He reaches out to him and recoils at the touch. Tears roll down his cheeks. A creak. Josh unslings his shotgun. Exterior, forest by road, day. Juliet pulls up her pants and looks around. She sees something on the ground. Interior, Juliet's house, day. Josh follows a blood trail from the door to the living room. Josh counts the bodies. There's one missing. Exterior, forest by road, day. Juliet bends down. There's a shell casing on the ground. She finds another. She gets down on all fours and sees footprints and drag marks crisscrossing the dirt. She slowly follows the marks. Intercut with interior, Juliet's house, day. Josh, his hands shaking, picks up Jim's body, but he's too heavy to lift. He grabs his shoulder and backwards drags him toward the front door. Juliet reaches a tree, hides against it, and turns slowly around it. Josh reaches behind him for the front door and instead hits Theo. Theo, with a hole in his head. Juliet sees 3 bandits, Roshan, Turo, and Malik, put on vests and load automatic weapons. She hugs the tree, then crawls away as fast as she can. Theo and Josh stare at each other. Theo seems to see through Josh. Josh pulls up the shotgun, but he's too slow. Theo yanks it from him, grabs him by the throat, and bites him. Josh screams and struggles, but he's no match for Theo. Theo goes to work on Josh's face and alternately pummels and gnaws him to death. Exterior, road, day. Juliet heads toward the van at a dead run and stops when she sees the bandits coming out of the woods parallel to her. She hides behind a tree. Joseph snaps to attention first, bringing up the shotgun and fires into the tree line. Matthew pulls out a second shotgun and ducks behind the burned-out car.
Let's go! Bandits!
Cargo.
Fuck the cargo, we're paid!
Matthew heads for the cab, but a bullet hits the van window. He drops the shotgun. Bud ducks, not sure what to do. Joseph runs out of ammo, gets behind the van to reload, but the bandits are too fast. They surround him and grab his gun. Malik and Roshan round up Bud and Matthew and stand them against the van. Roshan grabs Joseph, takes his shotgun and his ammo belt, and shoves him to the ground. Juliet creeps further into the woods. She finds Ishmael and Shirin tucked into a ditch. She crawls over and hides with them. They peek out over the top. By the van. Malik ties their arms with rope and forces them to their knees. Roshan searches the van. Turo looks up and down the road. By the ditch. Juliet and Ishmael whisper.
Who are these guys? Rebels?
Bandits. See, there's no ranks on the uniforms?
By the van. Turo empties their pockets into a bag.
Where are you headed?
Milltown.
Guess what? This is a toll road. Normally I'd ask for some money, but since you shot at us...
Malik puts a sack over Matthew's head. Turo hits him with the butt of his rifle. By the ditch. Juliet flinches.
They'll shoot the old man next, but not the coyotes.
Why not?
They'll sell the rest of them to slavers, but he's too old.
By the van. Malik puts a sack over Bud's head. Turo shoots him. Joseph cries.
Not me, not me, not me, not me!
By the ditch.
He's gonna give us up.
They slide deeper into the woods and then get up and run. By the van.
There's 3 others out there!
Stay with them!
Roshan and Malik run into the woods. Exterior, forest, day. Ishmael, Shirin, and Juliet run through the woods. Roshan and Malik run after them. Everyone's running blind. The forest is thicker here. Ishmael stumbles, falls, and gets separated from the others. Shirin loses her way. Juliet finds a downed tree, hides in it, and covers herself with some branches. She pulls out the cross knife and waits. Roshan runs past. Gunfire in the distance. Exterior, forest, hill, day. Ishmael slides downhill, chased by Malik. Ishmael grabs hold of a rock and throws it at Malik. It hits him in the head, causing him to fire wildly into the air. Ishmael runs off. Exterior, forest, day. Roshan stops on hearing a sound. and trains his rifle on a dark spot on the ground, then fires just past it. Sharon rises up, hands in the air. Roshan smiles. He points the gun at her, pulls a rope out of his backpack, and wraps it around her neck. Then he grabs the other end and leads her back in the direction they came from. They pass right by Juliet. She freezes as they walk past. Then she carefully emerges from her hiding place and walks down slope. Exterior, roadside, day. Turo keeps his eyes on Joseph and Matthew and sees Roshan emerging from the woods with Sharon in tow. Roshan shoves Sharon into the van. Turo prods Joseph in. Together they throw Matthew in.
It's a thin catch.
We'll get something for the van and the shotties.
Malik stumbles out of the woods, bleeding from the head.
Something bite you?
Fucking guy jumped me.
Turo turns to Joseph.
You said there were 3 more in the woods.
Joseph nods.
It'll be dark soon. Let them starve to death. You drive?
Malik nods his head.
And get in the van.
Malik gets into the cab. Turo in the back with the others. Roshan shuts the door and runs into the woods. From the edge of the clearing, Juliet watches as the van drives off and chokes back her tears. A second later, a jeep, outfitted with a crude corrugated metal on the top and sides, driven by Roshan, tears out of the woods and peels down the road. Exterior, forest, day. Ishmael hears the sound of the cars driving off, picks his way back uphill, and reaches the clearing by the burnt-out car. He looks around. Nothing. No one. Juliet emerges.
Where's Sharon?
With them.
Ishmael sighs.
I hope they sell her soon.
Just let them go. I should have done something.
With that?
Juliet looks at the knife.
Do you have any food?
Ishmael shakes his head. Exterior, forest, bandits clearing, day. Ishmael searches through what's left of the bandits' camp. Juliet studies the ground.
They're heading back to a tribal area or a town. They packed too light for anything else.
There's a few tracks here. Maybe deer. If we find a stream, we might get lucky and get us some swamp fruit.
If we light a fire after dark, we're just inviting people to come kill us. We should head down the road.
Juliet straightens up.
If we don't eat, we'll be too weak to make any good time.
If we get lucky, we'll pass some rice pads.
Not this time of year.
I never thought I'd miss the deli on the corner.
What?
Never mind.
Exterior, road, later. Ishmael goes through Bud's pockets and pulls out a photo. On the photo, a young teenage girl and boy. The photo looks recent, but it's been creased and taped. Ishmael takes Bud's shoes off. He finds some money tucked into the soles and gives some to Juliet.
What do we do with him?
Do you have some words to say?
No.
We have to hide him. If a patrol comes, they'll look around.
We don't bury him or anything?
I don't know what his tribe would have wanted. Do you? Kuruma-san will take care of him.
Juliet shakes her head.
No, he won't.
Ishmael gets up.
You're right, he won't. But it feels better saying it, doesn't it?
He grabs Bud by the shoulders. Juliet grabs him by his ankles. Together they carry him into the woods. Exterior, forest by pond, later. Ishmael strikes a couple of rocks together against some kindling. Juliet comes back with some berries and nuts wrapped in leaves. Exterior, forest by pond, later. Ishmael and Juliet finish what's left of their meal.
They couldn't have left us with a single pot. I'm dying for some water.
We'll find a well down the road.
The rebels poisoned most of the wells last year near me. Then the government capped them instead of letting us clean them out. Don't know if it's the same around here.
The story never changes.
No.
She stares at the dying fire and then looks up and sees the witch in the woods behind Ishmael. She jumps up.
What?
Up there.
Ishmael grabs her and pulls them both down. They hunker in the brush. Juliet looks again. Nothing's there.
Thought I saw someone.
We should get out of here.
Juliet kicks at the fire and puts dirt on it. They gather what few belongings they have left and walk down the road together. Juliet looks over her shoulder, but no one's there. Exterior, road, dusk. Juliet and Ishmael walk on the shoulder, hugging as close to the tree line as possible. The bones of various animals line the shoulder. Some of them look human.
You're not from here, are you?
Yes, I am. I was.
Where you live now?
I don't know you well enough to talk about it.
You're running from something?
Doubles. Same as you.
Juliet sees a vehicle coming down the road. They duck into the forest and wait as an army jeep rushes by. They peek out from behind the trees. Juliet sits down.
Keep going.
Ishmael sets off.
Damn it.
Juliet gets up and follows him. Exterior, abandoned house, night. A small house off the side of the road. Juliet and Ishmael walk up to it cautiously and head inside. Interior, abandoned house, night. A small shack with leaves and branches strewn across the floor and some broken furniture scattered about. They poke around and come up with a few odds and ends.
This could work for boiling water.
Ishmael holds up an old can. Juliet smiles. A crack. They freeze up. Another crack. You creep around the space looking for the source. They tiptoe up to the back door. And a branch, blown by the wind, hits the back window, making a crack. They both laugh nervously. Exterior, road, night. Back by the burned-out car at the edge of the tree line, Theo stands over Bud's corpse and sniffs the air.
You said she'd be here.
No answer except for the wind.
You told me. You made me do it.
Nothing. Gunfire breaks out in the distance. Theo feels the front of his head with his hand and shakes when he touches the exit wound.
You're not talking to me anymore.
Theo bends over Bud's body and bites his neck. As he drinks, the sound of the wind changes into a series of unintelligible whispers.
I can hear you better now.
Theo stands up and walks down the road. Fade out.